Good evening, everyone. Go ahead and grab a seat. It's great to be with you tonight. My name is Nathan Hoag. I have the privilege of being the parish pastor of the Sacred Grace Inglewood. It's always a little startling when I sit up here and people kind of trickle in and we're doing the prayers of the people, and all of a sudden, "Hear us, O Lord," is like super loud behind me. Because when we started this church, we set up like 30 chairs on this side of the room only. Some of you were there at the beginning. And you remember we would cross our fingers and beg God for like 10 people to show up. And now the room is full. And that is a testament to something that God is doing. And we're going to spend our time together tonight talking about all the things that God has done in the past year and talk a lot about the things that we believe that God has yet to do. We're going to talk about year 3, and we're going to talk about how God is moving us into the future of our church, the future of our city, and caring for this particular geography that we call home. In Wendell Berry's book, Jayber Crow, he writes, "Telling a story is like reaching into a granary full of wheat and drawing out a handful. There is always more to tell than can be told." And that is going to be the case for us tonight. We're going to tell as many stories as we can in the short time that we have together, and we're going to miss a lot. And so my recommendation to you is that you would share stories with each other throughout this week, perhaps throughout community dinner tonight after the service, because there's a lot of things that we won't touch on that we would like to have touched on if we were given the opportunity. One of the most frequent words that God speaks to his people throughout the Old Testament is this Hebrew word zakar, which means to remember. And he's constantly chiding them, remember, don't forget, quit forgetting, because every time you do that, you lose a little bit of what God has done. And it's in remembering that we preserve God's character and we preserve the movements of God in human history. And when we forget, when we don't continue to strengthen our oral history and continue to pass down tradition from person to person, from generation to generation, we lose a little bit every time of some of the things that we have been and some of the things that we are becoming, and all of the things that God is doing in the midst of that. And so it is important that we remember. And so the first half of our service tonight will be focused on remembering. We launched this church on Easter Sunday, March 27th, 2016. There was a lot of people here that day, and the next week there weren't so many people there. People were here to support us that first Sunday, which was great. And the subsequent Sundays were us getting together and gathering regardless of who was in the room. We've hosted over 100 worship gatherings on Sunday evenings in the past 2 years. I myself have traveled by foot on somewhere around 300 miles in this particular geography in the past year alone. We've hosted hundreds of people in the home that God provided for us a block away. We have three table groups that we've launched. We're launching a new one soon. God has done a lot in this short period of time that we have gathered together. The main thing that God taught us in our first year was how to move up towards him. We believe that there are 3 main vectors in which we move towards God as a family of believers. We move up towards him, we move in towards each other, and we move out towards our community. Those are the 3 kind of vectors that God has us on. And so the first, moving up towards him, that's what he did in our first year. That's where we started experimenting with prayers of the people and writing prayers out to give voice to the institution of the church. It's where we started toying with the idea of doing communion every week, believing that maybe in written prayers and in communion, those are some of the most worshipful things that we would do as a church. That's how we kind of figured out what it would look like to put together a worship experience where Canaan was leading us in some songs, but we were also getting a chance to use our voices in those and in the prayers and then some teaching as well. We've worked that out in the first year. Those were some of the things that we were toying with and dealing with. In our second year, this past year, so from last spring to this spring, God taught us how to move in towards each other. God gave us opportunities to gather in homes and in here and all over the city of Inglewood and even beyond to develop relationships with each other. We believe that's a significant part of spiritual growth. And one of the ways that he did that was through one family in particular. You guys might remember TJ and Candace Brummy, who are not here tonight. And the reason why they're not here is because they're in Morocco. They're the first people that we've sent overseas, the first people we've sent beyond the boundaries of Inglewood, Colorado, out into the rest of the world to go and share the gospel with people. And we sent them, we're behind them, we've been backing them ever since. And they wrote a letter to all of you for tonight. I don't have time to read the entire thing. We'll have some printed copies for you. There's a photo of them on the screen up there. The reason why they're really important to our rhythms for moving in towards each other is because they were the first to host a group of people from our church in their home as a table group last year. It was a pilot. It was an experiment. And many of you were there that first night when you gathered together, and I've heard stories about how awkward it was because I think there was some sort of like play that they made you participate in or something like that. But they were so good at hosting, maybe better than anyone that I know. Fantastic cooks. They knew how to be hospitable, and we wanted them to be the ones to lead the way. And it was really through them that we got these table groups off the ground. So I'll read you some portions of this letter. The Sacred Grace Inglewood, we send you the warmest greetings from Maghreb. And we think of you often and miss you dearly. We are so thankful to have you as a part of our story and to be, even though we are far away, part of the Sacred Grace story. As we write this letter, we recount and are grateful for the moments we got to spend around tables with so many of you, moments of raw honesty and deep connection, moments of laughter, tears of joy, both joy and sadness, moments of goodness and grace, prayers of thanksgiving, and also prayers of longing. The list just keeps going on. But whether we sat around tables at Acoma or in our home or your home or at Moe's or the Grand, we were shaped by the moments we spent around tables with you. Much of our time here in Morocco has been spent around tables as well, sipping tea or coffee, eating lots of sweets, sharing together in one communal platter of couscous or tangine. And we couldn't get to know our friends and our neighbors here without sitting around tables with them. And while those tables look a little different and the language of conversation may differ, one thing remains true. There's something about the table that leaves us both satisfied and longing for more at the same time. It's almost as if God created it that way. One of our favorite writers, the Episcopal priest and total foodie, Robert Farrar Capone, said it best: the most splendid dinner, the most exquisite food, the most gratifying company arouse more appetites than they satisfy. They do not slake man's thirst for being. They whet it beyond all bounds. Dogs eat to give their bodies rest. Man dines and sets his heart in motion. They go on and on to talk about the significance of the table in their day-to-day lives. And in reality, they were the ones who sort of gave us this vision for maybe using tables as the primary way in which we would move in towards each other. We did that through three major avenues. The first, we started welcome dinners. Julie and I have hosted over 50 people since September in our home, people who are interested in our church, just learning about what's happening here in Inglewood and what God is doing through the Sacred Grace Inglewood. And we sit around tables and we have meals together. Many of you have been to our home for one of those welcome dinners, and that's been a great rhythm for our family, and I think a good rhythm for our church as well. The second thing we did is we sort of structured and solidified our rhythm of community dinner, which many, if not all of you, will experience tonight after the service. We transformed this room in a matter of minutes into like basically a cafeteria, and we enjoy great food together. Over 10 restaurants in the local area have donated the main course of our community dinner over the past year. And we've had hundreds and hundreds of people around tables in this room sharing conversation and meals together. And the third main way that we've gathered around tables is through what we call table groups. It's kind of our version of small groups. These groups meet all around the parish. They meet even outside of the parish. They gather in homes, and we have meaningful conversations around a meal. There's not a lot of structure. They're all different in their own way, and they have their own characteristics. But it has been through these experiences that our church has learned how to grow in towards each other and follow the way of Jesus together. Kanan, who is not only our worship director, but also a filmmaker, is creating a series of short films throughout the year for us to help tell the story about who we are and who we are becoming. And so the film that we're about to show you is something that Kanan's been working on for quite a while, and we're going to get a chance to see how God, over the past year, has moved us in towards each other around tables. Whenever you're ready.
My husband and I had seen the postings, the regular postings about inviting neighbors to share in what Sacred Grace has in several activities. And we're so close, and we thought we wanted to get more involved in the neighborhood. So one day we came. We ended up staying and partaking and meeting a lot of really cool people. It was a very welcoming event, which caused us to come back.
Our family's been a part of the Sacred Grace since the beginning. Easter Sunday 2016 was our first Sunday. It was also the first Sunday of the church, and we've been involved ever since in various capacities.
For a number of years, I've been really interested in the intersection of church and community. I think it's important for church to be involved in the community. And so this was the kind of thing that interested me. And I wanted to know more about this church that was doing community dinners. And so I looked at the website, thought, this intrigues me. So I contacted Nathan to make an appointment to talk to him and learn more. And it kind of went from there.
The welcome dinner was a pleasant surprise to me. I couldn't believe that less than a week after attending Sacred Grace for the first time, I was in the pastor's home with his wife and his children and several others who were new to the church, having a lovely meal cooked by the pastor and his wife. It was really special and lovely. I had many conversations. We joked. We were free to talk and really get to know one another. The setup of the table is the perfect size also. It was just right. I've never experienced anything like that, and I've been a churchgoer for many, many years.
Having community dinner as a monthly rhythm continues to reinforce for us the importance of repeating that which matters.
We get to eat with people, we get to make new friends. We can talk to them face to face, not on our phones. We just get to sit down and talk about our lives.
So community dinner is not an option. It's something that we know is going to happen the last Sunday of every single month. Being a part of eating together and watching the community grow in relationship with one another, it reinforces those things that are most important for us as God's people.
Nathan talked about the fact that they were forming table groups. And I thought, well, I think I want to be part of one. But I was a little bit guarded about my time. Do I want to give that much time every week? But it's the only way to really become a community. And that's what I wanted. This is such an informal group, and I really appreciate that. I don't feel like I'm on my guard all the time. It creates a family feel of gathering around the table. I feel like I have sisters.
All that happens around the table is about us drawing closer towards each other. We're trying to serve and to love our neighbors, and that's foundational to the gospel. That's foundational to who God has designed us as His people to be.
God came and lived among us as a neighbor, and I want to be part of a group that's doing that.
Today is our birthday, and on your birthday you get gifts. So there'll be a series of gifts that you as a church, as our church, will receive throughout the night. The first gift that I have for you tonight is that tonight we are launching our 4th table group. We're going to make that available to all of you. The sign-up will be ready to go tomorrow on the website for that. I'm going to ask Devin and Kelsey and Caroline to stand up, please, really quickly. The 3 of you will be, these will be the hosts of this next table group number 4. Yes, very, very exciting. It's going to be meeting at Caroline's house in the Denver Tech Center. So if you live in that area or you work in that area, this is our only table group that will be outside of the city of Inglewood. And we want to make it available to some of the folks who kind of come to church here, but you live somewhere else or you work outside. It's very accessible via I-25, and so we're really excited to get that off the ground. It's going to be Thursday nights at 6:30 p.m., and Caroline's going to come up and tell you just a couple more things about it.
Hey guys. It's really exciting to be up here. I've loved this church from the moment I walked in, and I'm really excited to grow deeper with you all. So we're going to be meeting weekly at my house in the Tech Center. Woo! And we're just really excited to share meals together, and I think we're going to be studying the Bible inductively, but we're still not sure quite what passages or what part of the Bible we want to study yet, but we're excited to get your input. So we're not going to start this next week because I still don't have a table. I just moved. So I think we're looking at 2 weeks out, which gives me a good hard deadline, so we're good. But yeah, we're really excited to just embrace community and get to know you better. So
Thanks. I'll take that. The three of them have been meeting kind of like, sort of soft launch meetings, different restaurants around Inglewood for the past few weeks, and they're really excited to get things started. We want to give you a chance to stretch your legs here in just a minute, but before we do that, we want to invite you into a rhythm that we have been participating in since the very beginning of our church. Many of you have contributed to our church financially in one way or another. There's a lot of donors in the room tonight, and there are a lot of regular attenders who have donated or tithed in some way, and I want to say thank you for that. The lights are still on because of your contributions, and we really appreciate that. We believe that generosity is something that we do with our entire lives, not just with a check or some cash on occasion. We believe that it starts with what we say, and then we believe it works its way down into our hearts and starts to shape the way that we live our lives. And so generosity takes place sometimes through financial contribution. If you'd like to do that, you can do that at thesacredgrace.com/give, or you can find one of the metal boxes on your way out, and you can make a contribution there if you'd like. But we want to start with what we say, and so we do that through what we call a generosity prayer. So if you're willing and able, would you stand with me and pray this prayer with me? All that we have received from God. We bring nothing into this world, and we take nothing out of it. We choose to follow the way of Jesus and increase in generosity until it can be said, there is no one in need among us. We choose to be faithful stewards of all our resources, relationships, time, possessions, and money. We choose to be generous because our Father is generous. And as his daughters and sons, we want to show the world what he is like. Amen. Our first year, God taught us how to move up towards him. And our second year, God taught us how to move in towards each other. And we firmly believe that in our third year, God is teaching us how to move out towards the city of Inglewood. Over the past couple of years, really beyond 2 years, because we did a lot of walking and listening and praying even before our launch service, we've been paying attention. We've been really careful to watch what's happening in this neighborhood and to ask ourselves, what is it that God is doing in our parish? How can we serve her best? How can we care for her best? How can we be efficient and effective? It is really typical, especially in American culture, to sort of rush in and try to fix things. But in reality, because we were so young and we were so new, we didn't really know this place well enough to do that effectively. So we waited. We've been waiting and listening and watching. And during that time, we've learned a lot. And one of the things that we've learned is that there are a few particular areas of both strength and weakness in our parish that we can engage. There are three major avenues, similar to the ways in which we moved in toward each other. There are three ways in which we're going to move out towards the city of Inglewood. The first is through civic engagement. The second is through schools, and the third is through our neighbors. The first, civic engagement, involves some of our elected officials like city council. It involves our city manager and his staff of over 400 people. It involves the infrastructure that makes up what this city is. It involves the Chamber of Commerce. It involves all the things that makes this city run. And so there are a lot of ways you can be involved and invested in that particular avenue, but one in particular way that we'd like to highlight tonight is a rhythm that we put together about a year ago that we call simply Inglewood Prayer. And to tell us a little bit more about that tonight is the Inglewood City Manager, Mr. Eric Keck. Would you please give him a warm Inglewood welcome? Eric, thanks for being here. Would you share with us a little bit about what we do on Wednesday mornings and why that's been meaningful to you?
Yeah, it's an honor. First of all, it's an honor and pleasure to be here on this birthday and a special occasion. The rhythm started out of an outgrowth of trying to be sure that we weren't trying to take church out of state. And specifically, the Civic Center building in City Hall has been a dark place. When I arrived here about 3.5 years ago, it just felt soulless. I hate to say that, as a community. And you can definitely feel the spiritual forces that this community's been wrestling with for quite some time, and it seems like that epicenter is the Civic Center. So when Nathan approached me and basically encouraged me, he said, man, you need to be bold and courageous, and I appreciate that. You guys know you got a great leader here, and we all serve a great leader in God, right? So first and foremost, but Nathan came up with this concept of saying, hey, why don't we start a prayer? And I'm like, awesome. And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, I've been wanting to have prayer in my office, in this building that I work in, that I spend too many hours. Just ask my wife and my daughter. So we started a prayer every Wednesday morning, and it has just been so incredibly encouraging. I've seen several faces in the audience of people, Bree and Erica, and Kanan even came a couple times. Hey, millennials, man, they can't get up early, right?
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Wait a minute, I shouldn't start that, right? But the prayer has been incredibly encouraging and incredibly powerful in that now I have an employee who comes as well to that, and I actually have other employees who walk by this conference room at 7 a.m. in the morning, and they're like, "What are you doing in there? Why are you meeting early in the morning?" And I said, I'm just having first of all, I just have a meeting with some locals, But now I'm telling people, no, it's prayer. And I actually have people try to feed me prayer requests who I know who are struggling with issues just like every one of us does, but they also felt the need to step forth and say, hey, you know what, I recognize that something positive is going on with this Inglewood prayer. And I will tell you, in my job, it's difficult, like every job is, right? But I can't imagine being in the job that I am without having the encouragement of prayer, without having pastors like Nathan, who, again, is just so encouraging and so positive about what's going on in Inglewood to make sure that we are successful as a community. Such a powerful time. There have been times, and I told Nathan this a couple weeks ago, maybe it was a month ago, I lose track of time, but I said, man, you know what, I almost gave up. Because this is a tough place. What's going on politically, what's going on just with the change in the community, and guys like me get to be the lightning rod. But through prayer and through the prayer group and the encouragement of those members who come on Wednesday mornings, as well as I will say I've received notes from people I don't even know in this congregation. I teared up. One day I had like 15 notes in the mail. I'm like, what's all this mail from the Sacred Grace? And I'm reading these notes, and there are notes from people I don't even know, encouraging me and thanking me for the work that I do. And some days I don't even know what I do in this community, but just try to push the community forward, right? But to get those notes, that was so powerful, and to get the prayer and the encouragement that Nathan and everybody who comes on Wednesday morning brings, I can't tell you what that's doing to transform the spirit of City Hall and encourage me. We took a time 2 weeks ago to pray in the council chamber before a meeting and just bless each seat, not only for the council people who are going to be there, for the people who come to speak, for the staff people. That was powerful. And that wouldn't have happened without the Sacred Grace and without Nathan and his leadership and his encouragement from happening. And so I'm blessed by it. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's difficult to know what to say after that. Thank you. It's so good to be a part of something that is so invested and involved in this community, and it has been something that so many of you have been behind, and it is literally changing the fabric of Inglewood for the better. Okay, it's an enormous blessing. So civic engagement is an important avenue for us in this third year, jumping into Inglewood prayer. Doing a police ride-along so you know what's going on in the streets of Inglewood with our police officers. Being a part of a board or commission with our city council. I serve on the ACE committee, which is the Alliance for Commerce in Inglewood, it's all business owners. I'm the only nonprofit representative on that board, and we advise council on what's happening on a commercial level in the city of Inglewood. You can be on one of those boards. There's a few people around here who are on those boards. Highly recommend being a part of that. Simply attending city council meetings. It's amazing what you will learn just by being there. I'm not even there for the whole time because they are so long, but I go for like an hour maybe, and I hang in there. They're streamed online. Watch them on the web. You should definitely be a part of that. The second way in which we are moving out, the second avenue that God is teaching us, or God is using to teach us how to move out towards our city is going to be through schools. And we've practiced this a little bit over the past couple of years through our public school system. We have 4 elementary schools, a preschool, a high school, a middle school, and an alternative high school here in the city of Inglewood. It's a small enough city that you can kind of memorize all the names of the schools, and you can be invested in the school that's in your neighborhood. They're strategically placed all around the city, and you can be a part of a school that's close to where you live or where you work or where you play. And so we've learned a lot through our work with Bishop, which is just a couple blocks from here, and we want to expand that out in this coming year to the other schools in the city of Englewood. And to tell us a little bit more of what it's like on the inside, what it's like at these schools where kids are learning day in and day out, is Alyssa Johnston, who's one of the teachers at one of the schools here in Englewood. Would you please give her a warm welcome?
Hi guys, my name is Alyssa Johnston, and I'm the behavioral specialist at Cherlin Elementary School, which is a school of about 270 kids, highly impacted, and it's also a magnet for kids with moderate special needs. And so as a behavioral specialist, I come up with behavioral plans, do crisis calls, as well as implement restorative practice, which is a new practice they're implementing in Englewood schools. So it's an awesome job. It's difficult working with the kids that need love the most. You see it in the most unloving ways. And so it's a challenging job, but to be a part of a church who supports Englewood schools, and really every single Sunday we get to pray over Englewood and pray over the staff and pray over the teachers, and to have that support and then go into schools and have that be my mission has been really incredible. And I don't know if I could have done it without the support and love that I get from my community here. And being a teacher in this school, like, you really get to see the kids and know the community and know the community's needs. And just being able to live in Englewood, work in Englewood, and go to a church in Englewood has just been one of the biggest of life's blessings. So.
That's great. Thank you so much. That's perfect. One of the things we've learned over the past few years is that there are a lot of institutions, if you will, all around our city that are already in place, and we have the privilege of stepping into those and utilizing them as they are. So rather than starting a school, for instance, or trying to figure out some way to get all the kids in Englewood to be here at some point, we just thought, well, the kids are already all in one place or a couple different places all throughout the week. And so we get a chance to impact the next generation and a generation of teachers and leaders by investing in these schools. And the schools in Englewood have a lot of needs, and we get the chance to jump in and be a part of that through teacher appreciation, through some of the things that we do around the Christmas time events, some of the things we do, and throughout the summer we can do after-school programs. There's so much that we can be a part of, and so you'll be seeing more and more in the coming weeks about how you can jump in on that particular avenue to serve people like Alyssa and many of the children you see running around here tonight that are a part of Englewood schools. The third main way that we are moving out towards our city is through our neighbors, caring for the people who literally live next to us. When I say neighbor, I don't mean it metaphorically. I mean it literally. The people who literally live on your block or on your street, or maybe the homeless person who lives nearby and you see them on a regular basis because they walk past your house often, or they walk past a business that you own on a regular basis. There are neighbors all around us, and sometimes we think so much about maybe our metaphorical neighbor, somebody that we know who has a need, but maybe they're far away, that we miss the needs of our literal neighbors. But in order to care for the needs of our literal neighbors, we must first know them. We need to know their names. We need to have built some sort of a trust relationship so that we could actually step into their lives and they could step into ours. We can take care of each other's kids. We can take care of each other's homes. We can meet each other's needs, but only if we know them first. And so one of the gifts that we want to give you tonight is an opportunity. We decided that for year 3, we're going to take, at least to begin with, half of our missions and outreach budget, and we're going to give it back to you in the form of small grants that will let you throw great block parties and develop great rhythms in your home that allow you to know your neighbors, not just their names, but beyond that, to their needs and to caring for them in maybe some of their most challenging moments. And so we're starting tomorrow. There will be an opportunity for you to fill out a short online application where you can describe in detail how you might use some of the funding that we have available to not only know your neighbors, but to begin caring for their needs. We're going to ask for a detailed financial analysis. I'm not just going to give this out, but if you have a good idea and you can put pen to paper or, whatever, however on the internet you would do that. You get what I'm saying. And you can send that, and it's compelling, and I could see that you would use these dollars wisely, and that there's some sort of great follow-up on the back end for taking care of the people who literally live on your block. We're going to cut you a check. Literally, we will cut you a check to take care of your neighbors. That's how badly we want to empower you to do it. You can do it as an individual. You can do it as a family. You can do it as a table group. You can do it as a group of friends. You don't have to live here to do it. It can be in the neighborhood where you do live or where you do work. Or you might think about a way you might invest in this neighborhood because it is a neighborhood that we're claiming and taking responsibility for. It might be for the homeless population or a lower income population. It might be for a wealthy population. Whatever it is you feel like you need to do, we want to get behind that. So we're going to experiment with it throughout the summer, and we hope to throw some really, really good parties. And then if things go well, we'll do a little review, and then we'll unlock the rest of the funding and make it available throughout the rest of the year if it's used well throughout the summer. So that's one of the gifts we want to give to you tonight. Beginning tomorrow, you'll have the opportunity to apply for one of these grants to throw great parties so that you can care for your neighbors and meet the needs of the people who literally live on your block. That's a really important thing to us. God has moved us in many different directions, up towards him, in towards each other, and out towards the city of Inglewood. This is our place. This is our responsibility. And so the things that happen here, good, bad, and ugly, belong to us. And we hold the tension and the weight of those things, and it's important that we care for it well.